welcome to the hangar. Hope everyone's staying safe and getting lots of flying done. I'm going to take a little bit of time today and talk to you about aircraft purchases. Now, whenever we're looking at buying an airplane, whether it be our first plane or our third plane, or if we're just starting to get into flying and we're looking at the possibility of, say, buying a little Cessna 150 and learning how to fly on it rather than renting an aircraft from a flight school, we always want to keep in mind a couple of really important things. So the first would be like, what is the mission that you're trying to do? Because that's really going to dictate the type of airplane that you are going to be looking at. So you need to have a clear, realistic idea in your mind, of what it is you want to do. I want to be able to take my family of 5 with baggage, long cross-country routes or over water flights or over high mountainous terrain because of the area that I live in, and we want to go, a couple of hours, 3 hours type leg distances and really travel with the airplane. Or same sort of story, but I'm going to use the airplane for business. That obviously is going to put you into a very different category of aircraft, and then also a very different budget. Lots of us would like all kinds of neat stuff that's just not realistic, unfortunately. So you are going to have to make some compromises, but getting a basic idea of the mission you're trying to do, it will really help with that. If you're just looking to go up and fly around the local area and kind of enjoy the great blue yonder and the freedom of flight, well then, an Aeronca Champ with no radios because you're at a small airport and it's not required, might be just what you need. There's not much to look after, it's a cheap airplane to purchase, and it's not expensive to deal with, and it's just wonderful to fly and really gets you that enjoyment. So in determining that mission, you're going to have to outline and make some lists and kind of determine what it is that you're after. And there's lots of good online resources that can help you with that, put out by various pilot associations. And there's lots of group chats and forums and groups for different particular types of aircraft. So, like the Bonanza aircraft has a great following, and lots of information to be gleaned from them. Mooney aircraft also, there's a very active owners association with them. I could go on and on. So sort out your mission, do your research, and then you want to talk to pilots, talk to other pilots and see what they do and what they fly and what they think about airplanes. And there's lots of great information that could be sourced locally around your airport, just talking with other owners, especially if they may have one of the aircraft that you're even interested in getting. Now, for a lot of us, an important step, especially as lots of changes happen now, is going to be speak to your insurance company. You may decide that the Mooney is just the right airplane for you, but because of your experience level, you may have a very difficult time getting insurance. Or you may have aircraft where you can get insurance, but they're only going to offer you liability insurance. They're not going to protect the hull. So you have to then determine whether that's an acceptable risk and whether you're prepared to fly the aircraft without that added protection. Now, most of the time, even when they won't offer you in-flight hull insurance, it's very possible normally to get your sort of fire theft damage for ground, not in motion insurance, so that it's still covered out on the apron or in your hangar if worst case scenario happens. Now, maintenance costs, fuel costs are going to be a really important line item in there as well. And in that maintenance cost, there's going to be a number of items. Is the aircraft simple, i.e. fixed gear, fixed prop, non-retractable undercarriage, or is it a complex aircraft with constant speed propellers, retractable undercarriage, and multiple systems in the aircraft, whether it be hydraulic or electric over hydraulic, that need maintaining? Obviously, 2 engines are going to increase your number of cylinders, spark plugs, magnetos, and everything else that needs to be looked after. The type of engine as well. Lycoming's a very good reputation. Continental has a very good reputation as well. The Continentals certainly have some more involved maintenance items on them, and quite often they can be, in the private world, because it's not mandatory to do all of them, the Continental engines can get to a point where in my experience, they need a lot more maintenance, and they start having a lot of problems and giving a lot of issues, and it can be very expensive. The parts are more expensive, fuel pumps are more expensive, cylinders are more expensive, so they are definitely a more expensive engine to maintain. So you're going to want to factor that in. So not only is the engine more expensive, but now you might have turbochargers as well. That adds fuel cost, complexity. Engines wear out quicker. You're more likely to be burning out exhaust valves, damaging exhausts, etc., etc. So that's going to be a really important factor. On the fuel side of things, obviously most of us are burning 100 low lead, but certain aircraft have supplemental type certificates to burn MoGas. Now you need to be very careful with the quality and quantity of MoGas that you use, and we could have a whole other discussion on just how that looks. But basically, as long as you are ensuring that it is of a quality and octane rating that's acceptable, there isn't ethanol in the fuel, I don't have a problem with using the MoGas in aircraft that are approved for it, especially, and this is what I like to do, I only keep about a 50-50 mix. So 50% avgas, 50% MoGas, you get the stabilization and the high quality of the avgas, and a bit of the fuel savings of the MoGas. And that fuel savings can be seriously significant. So again, this could be a great way to help determine what engine you want, what aircraft you want, because of the fuel costs and the ability to use the MoGas or not, depending on the aircraft engine, upgrades that may have been done, or STCs that have changed it. So, for example, certain 172s that have been converted to 180 horsepower are eligible for MoGas STCs, while others that have a different STC to change it to the 180 horsepower that use a electric fuel pump are not eligible. Now, along that hangar lines and along the cost-wise, you may want to start looking at what's it like to put your aircraft in a hangar at the airport where you're going to be. Now, hangars are not mandatory, and obviously the airplanes can sit outside, but it is going to be looked after much better indoors. If you have constant speed propellers, or if you have a fabric airplane, that hangarage becomes even more important, because there are components now on the aircraft that are going to deteriorate at a larger rate and more expensive rate in the weather. A Champ, for example, a wonderful airplane, one of my favorites to fly, is only worth about its fabric job. So if you have to do the fabric, it's very expensive. So keeping that in a building is certainly advantageous, but if your hangarage is costing you $6,000 a year plus, you've got to start weighing in the, well, okay, but in 10 years, boy, we could have bought 2 Champs. So maybe it is okay to leave it outside. It's just another asset to look at. Some airports, some air parks, or little flying club facilities have very, very cheap hangarage available, even if it's just cold storage, T-hanger to get it out of the sun and the weather. That can be great. More and more I'm starting to see partnerships, and this is a really interesting avenue for cost saving on insurance, hangarage, airport fees, and maintenance in general. Obviously, it adds some complexity, and there's many, many ways that can be people can go about doing the partnership. And I've seen lots where there's just 2, and I've seen partnerships where there's sort of 5+ people. Most of them seem to be going well. However, I've certainly heard some horror stories. So approach with some caution. Really want to make sure you know the individual, you've got a good agreement in place, and that you are jiving on what you want to do. It's no good having a nice airplane that someone only wants to fly day VFR and doesn't want to spend any money on it. Meanwhile, 2 other partners are looking to do night IFR, long distance, cross country, big trips. There's going to be a bit of headbutting in there. So with the partnership, really want to be careful and make sure that everybody's going to get along, and make sure there's a good out clause if you decide that you're moving or leaving or want to go your own way. Now, that's a lot of the sort of research and study and build up ahead of time. Once you've actually used all of those pieces of information to find an aircraft that you think might be right for you, I really would recommend the next big step is go and see it, go look at it. If you get a chance to fly it, that's probably a really good opportunity as well. And then you want to have a thorough pre-purchase inspection completed by someone who is well qualified on the aircraft. So get your mechanic involved, or get a third-party mechanic involved to go through the airplane. Now again, if the aircraft for sale is a $10,000 Cessna 150 and you have lots of time in 150s and you've flown it and everything looks good, well, other than doing a compression check and checking the filters and maybe a little paperwork research, there's not a lot to do. But if you're looking at buying a Cessna 310, well, we've got lots of systems, lots of complexity, 2 big engines, landing gear, so on and so forth. You're going to need to invest, or I would suggest you should invest some time in having a mechanic go through it and figure out what's up. Paperwork also is an important aspect of flying, so that needs to be given lots of attention. Lots of times you see, no damage history. I always like to mention that, well, no damage history recorded. Quite often you can find damage history that is in the aircraft, just nobody ever put it in the books. So you do need to take things with a little bit of a grain of salt and have a real good, thorough go through the aircraft. It'll be well worth it. I have done a number of purchase inspections which very quickly turned into, you do not want to buy this airplane. Like the engine's toast, or the filters are full of metal, the compression's bad, the avionics aren't working, or there's broken spars, it's infested with rodents, and there's massive corrosion issues because of that in the structure. And these are some of the things I found doing purchase inspections for individuals. I've also found some really wonderful airplanes that you're quite comfortable getting fairly quickly, but you need to have a good go through, and a thorough pre-purchase inspection is basically an annual inspection on most small aircraft to ensure that they are up to the standard and they're going to at least give you some trouble-free time to begin with. Or at least you know what you're getting into and can budget it, or use the information from it to renegotiate a purchase price. Now again, multiple ways of doing purchase inspection reports, but I certainly provide mine to the seller. They can then use that as they see fit, and I've even seen individuals who have decided not to buy the aircraft for one reason or another, but then sell the report on so that they're not out of pocket quite so much. And that can be kind of a good way to go in your inspection aircraft. So lots of research, talk to lots of people, make a good list of what it is you're looking for, take the opportunity to fly aircraft, and I would strongly suggest checking with your insurance company before you get too far down any potential aircraft road, and invest in having a good qualified mechanic go through the aircraft so you know what it is you're getting. I hope that's been helpful for you, and please leave your comments below. We'd love to hear from you, or any other thoughts on buying aircraft, or anything for that matter of fact, along with our flying and the other videos that we're doing. Stay safe, happy tailwinds, and we'll talk to you all soon. Cheers.